All right, so a little market recap for my trades today. Overall, pretty happy. I'm up 65 on the day. We took one, two. We took three trades. We took three trades, but technically four trades. And I'll explain that. But my recap for the day, so if we go to 9:30 bell open, there's 9:30. Go to replay mode. Bang. Going into the morning, I was monitoring this fair value gap. I really wanted to see this 1 hour fair value gap to the upside get tapped as a potential entry for a long. And then we were also looking at certain highs and lows. So I wanted to see this high maybe be a point of interest later, this high, this low. To be bullish, I wanted to see these lows get swept, which corresponded with the 1 hour fair value gap. So that's kind of what my bias was going into the day. I was pretty bullish, even though ES was like points away, like 10 points away from taking this high on ES. So I was kind of careful to see if ES just ripped up and took those highs, because then you got to be a little bit more defensive after that. But so going into the day, or going into the morning market open, we see just kind of slow price. We were just going kind of sideways, coming down. We put in these equal lows here, and this is where I made my first mistake. I saw this low get taken, and we had this displacement back to the upside on the 1 minute. So we had this displacement back after taking this low, which is not very much of a sweep. And then we created all these imbalances. We ran through this imbalance. We had a 3 minute get ran through. So this was the 3 minute inverse fair value gap that I was looking at taking a trade entry off. So I see price go into this fair value gap, this inverse, after taking this low. And I see all these imbalances getting held. I wait, and then I'm seeing it get held, respected. This fair value gap getting respected. And on this candle here, I see it trade up. Obviously, hindsight, we see it close it down, but I see it trade up, and I kind of chase my entry. I get in pretty high, probably around here. That might not be exactly where I get in, but I get it pretty high on this wick, almost the top, which I do very good at picking the tops of breakouts. My targets were just these highs. This high first TP, this high for my second one, because that was a 5 minute imbalance that I was looking for price to seek. I was looking for price to seek this 5 minute and decide what I wanted to do from there. But that was what I was confident in price going to. So that was my TP on this trade. So my entry idea wasn't horrible. We got displacement. We took a low. We inversed these fair value gaps. We inversed the 3 minute. We held the 3 minute. We pumped up. I just should be entering here. If I'm trying to play an inverse model, I need to enter on the inverse, because I added about 6 to 10 points of extra risk. I think I had my stop like here, and I just took like a pretty heavy loss. Even though I'm trading 2 micros, I took a pretty heavy loss, kind of right off open. So let me fix this screen. So I took that kind of heavy loss going in because I chased, and we obviously get ran through to the downside. I get stopped out. In hindsight, this low that gets taken right here, this smaller low right here, is not very valid, and even though I don't mind the trade, like I say that this trade's not bad. Like we have an inverse 3 minute, we have displacement back up, we took lows. We had SMT at the time as well with ES and NQ. NQ had taken these lows and ES hadn't. So we had a lot of confirmation, but something that I've heard before and I know myself is do not short with equal lows. What do we put in? Equal lows here, but not even just these two candles are equal. But we had this candle here, which prints the 1 hour fair value gap that I wanted to see tap anyways for bullish confirmation. So I get stopped out. I'm kind of frustrated. Not really sure if I'm trying to take another trade, like if I'm revenge trading, what's going to happen. So I just kind of take a step back and sit back and try and focus on what's happening and what I'm seeing in the market. And then we see price continue through the 1 hour. We get to about we get equilibrium of the fair value gap. So we tap discount or CE of the fair value gap. I don't know if it's CE or called something else, but we fill most of the imbalance and we take these equal lows, and now we're starting to displace back up. So the first point that I was looking at was this 1 minute bearish. What was going to happen here? We end up running it to the upside, becoming inverse, and then on the 2 minute there's nothing, but on the 1 minute we end up making this fair value gap. We come and trade into it, which is also inverse. I then go long here, and this is my second long. After having the first loss, I probably should have been a little bit looser with my stop loss and left it here, or even the lows, or even just this fair value gap. Price ended up pushing up slightly and then coming down, and I somehow get out for break even or above break even. So I exited the trade. I was a little bit scared, a little bit nervous to have a loss or another loss. So I get out. But then I see the trade kind of push up and continue. Or I don't get out here, but I get out. It comes up here, and price comes back down with this candle, and I get out here. So now I'm kind of flustered because I took a loss, and then I had a good trade, and then I kind of just got out early. I see it take this internal low, which then I'm wondering is this going to start displacing through, or are we going to start seeing that be a stop raid? It ends up being a stop raid. We inverse. I'm looking for this 1 minute to get inversed, and we do inverse it right here, or technically we close within a tick, barely even a tick. We don't inverse it, but I jump in along off this wick, kind of just anticipating an inversion. I kind of counted this as an inversion because it was close enough. We had the 1 hour fair value gap, we had the displacement, we had an inverse already, we had a 1 minute, we had another inverse. We had, even if you want to go retail, head and shoulders pattern. I don't trade that, and then we had this internal stop raid. So if anyone that went long and put their stop here, how important is that stop raid? I don't really know, but it is kind of interesting to see the market come down, take a low, and then pump up. So I enter there, long, off of that inversion and tap. Getting around here, I think I put my stop probably at the low, risk 16 points, and then my target was this fair value gap. I end up probably this high, but I end up taking off my first contract at this high, so for 17 points. Because I was a little bit hesitant, and I already taken the loss, so I wanted to lock something in. We instantly get the first take profit. Now I move my stop to break even, and we see it come back down, fill this wick. This is also another good entry point, but at this point I was already in the trade. And And then I got a little bit nervous around here, and I think I just cut off my profit right here. So I got out, got back the loss I took over here, and it was a nice trade. The trade ended up playing out amazing. It would have ran full TPs. It would have even ran this high if you held to that, which would have been a monster trade, about 78 points. So it was a great setup. The 1 hour bullish, the inversion, the 1 minute tap, the inversion again, the 1 minute tap here, breaking structure to the upside. A great trade. I would say that's definitely A+. Happy that I saw it, not very happy with my executions. So I think I'm done for the day at this point. But we continue on, and we start to see, I'm going to take the market open out. We end up seeing these 15-minute fair value gaps form bullish. So then I have a model of a 15-minute to 2-minute fair value gap, which I'll explain. So I mark out these 15 minutes, and I want to see price come into here that take a long, because 1 hour tap, displacement up, breaking structure to the upside on the 15-minute fair value gap in discount. I really wanted to see this this fair value gap get tapped, and then to take a short. So otherwise, I wouldn't have a trade. Fast forward, we come down, we set equal lows with the fair value gap on the first one, the first bullish fair value gap, which was right here. We set this 15-minute fair value gap, and I wanted to see this get tapped right away, and then we target the highs. Price then comes down, doesn't tap the fair value gap, equal lows again, and then starts kind of pushing up to the upside. At this point, I didn't know if I was just going to not get an entry. If, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was okay with not getting an entry. We were going to run the highs, whatever. At some point up here, I started to feel like this was becoming low resistance liquidity that we're building up. We're generating the buy side liquidity to come back down here and then run these highs later. That ended up working pretty nice because we just kept failing to take these highs. We never took this high. We never took this high. We make it lower high. And then when we get this 1 minute dump, like this dump on the 1 minute, I was then very confident that we were going to see the 15-minute fair value gap, which we did. And we tap in here, so now I'm looking for some sort of reaction on the 1 minute first, and then we can get some type of validation. So we just continue dumping, and at this point, I'm wondering if we're going to start selling off because we just took out this high right here. I didn't know if we were starting to, get manipulation to the downside and start trading lower. So I was kind of careful at this point. At this point in time, we actually create this 5-minute bearish fair value gap. So I'll get rid of this one. So once we create this 5-minute, I'm then wondering, is this going to be an entry to, I was wondering if we'd see something like this. Come into the 5-minute, and start the sell model. So I was hesitant either way, but we tap into the 15-minute even further down, and we start getting movement out. So normally a tap this small that you can barely see, I'm not the biggest fan of because I like to see some of the fair value gap get filled. But we were in a 15-minute imbalance already, so we didn't need to fill too much of it for it to be valid setup for longs. So going on to the 1 minute, I just want to see any type of bearish sign get inversed or just ran through. So I'm waiting for this. We'll come back down again. Now we start having momentum. I'm starting to really be happy about this setup coming with this momentum. And the 5-minute closes pretty much inversing it, reversing this whole move out of the 5-minute. At this point, I'm very bullish. We create this 2-minute fair value gap. So now I'm not even really considering the 5-minute bearish. We make this 2-minute imbalance, which is an entry I love to take, which is a 15-minute fair value gap, bullish or bearish. you tap it and you displace with creating a 2-minute fair value gap in the same direction. So bullish fair value gap, we trade into it. Bullish 2-minute. 15-minute, 2-minute, I'm telling you, it's gold. Try it out. Look for it in your chart. It is insane, and I don't see people talk about it because you could probably get better risk to reward, and you can probably like trade stuff and make money on the same, like this same setup. You could trade it without thinking about 15-minute, 2-minute. But if you're someone that doesn't know or struggles finding setups, you could straight up just long or short off this type of model, and you have an insane win rate targeting the highs. You gotta put the stop at the low, so the risk reward is not as good as if you're trading like really specific stuff. But if you want a model that works without any bias, you just gotta follow the 15-minute, 2-minute. Anyways, this is one of my favorite models and the one I have the most confidence with. So I enter the trade here, but I start getting more conviction because we then create a 5-minute bullish fair value gap. So not only are we pretty much inversing this whole move down, we tap a 15-minute, we make a 5-minute. I'm starting to think this is really A plus. Not 15-minute, 5-minute. 5-minute bullish. I'm starting to think this is really A plus setup. I was already in the trade at this point, but it gave me extra confirmation, extra, confidence in this trade. I had my stop here at the beginning, about 19 points, which I really did not want to see myself lose 19 points after being about break even from being down. So we get in the trade. It's looking A plus, comes down one more time, and then we start to move up. My first TP was a little bit low. It was right here. I just wanted to target the low-hanging fruit. I already had kind of a loss. I was a little bit flustered. We start getting some nice movement up. It's a little bit slow, but it looks really good. At this point, the chart looks amazing. 5-minute looks amazing. Everything looks great for this trade. I start trailing my stop to the 5-minute, and then I think I put it at break even on this next candle. I put a break even here. And then we end up taking this first high. My second TP ended up being here, which we end up running as well. So very, 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 very nice trade. So happy with that trade. My model just worked perfectly. I wanted to think about leaving my runner to here, but I kind of just took it off. I didn't want to still be in the trade. It could come back down here, sweep again, come up here. ES was at all-time highs. I wasn't a fan of trying to just hold and be greedy, so I took my 28 points and I ran, and I was very happy with that trade. And that's kind of my market recap. The PM session is going to start in an hour, but I'm not going to be trading it. I'm done for the day, starting my weekend. But yeah, this is my market recap of my trades I took today. Let's see if the market ends up running higher anyways, and it does not. So good thing I didn't get greedy and trying to hold higher, because now we're probably just starting the sell model. And I'm not really interested to see what the market wants to do from here on out the rest of the day. I made my trades. I had my risk. I made some money. And I don't need to be caught up in all this because this looks very trappy. But yeah, that's my market recap for the trades I took. I'm going to quit rambling. This is long already. So yeah, I'll end the video here.